Hi, Pastor Steve and Pastor Mark here, and we want to share with you some of the details of our worship services on Christmas week. So I'm going to get started with the schedule, and it actually is going to start on Wednesday, December 23rd, with an extra senior service with Holy Communion, and we invite you to come to that, especially those who have special concerns. Then we get to Christmas Eve on Thursday, and we'll begin with a celebration worship at 1 o'clock in the gym. Then we'll have our family worship services at 3 and 5 right here in the sanctuary. And then those will be followed by a 7 o'clock traditional service and then an 11 o'clock traditional service, which will include candlelight and celebration of the Lord's Supper. And our service will be available on our Facebook and YouTube channel at 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and there will also be a 6:30 radio broadcast. That brings us to Christmas morning, a traditional worship service right here in the sanctuary at 9 o'clock, and that service will be broadcast on the radio as well. That's the schedule. Some details from Pastor Mark.
And Merry Christmas. And just a reminder that because we're still in the pandemic, people have asked questions. There's been some wondering, how are we going to handle that? We anticipate more people on Christmas Eve, but probably not as many as we typically see. We did add that service, 3 and 5 o'clock. Typically, those have been the largest services. Where separating them on times, we believe we're going to be able to manage the time. Just a few reminders how the protocols that we're trying to follow here at St. James to help people keep safe. We do have every other pew blocked off. That does leave us with, we said, 26 pews. We believe we can comfortably sit between 180 to maybe 200 people in our sanctuary at the max, but I really don't know what to expect for sure. But because we do think we're going to have higher numbers at those services, we really do encourage you to wear a mask. The recommendation with that is, especially with singing and a higher volume of singing and more people, just to protect yourself and mainly to protect others as well. So we're not going to require it, obviously, but we do strongly encourage you to think about wearing those masks. We are going to remain blocking off every other pew. We are going to try to have the chapel side open in case we would need some overflow seating. And with that, just a reminder to, after worship and before worship, just to follow the social distancing and not congregate in the hallways and not congregate in the narthex. We hate saying that because we do, especially at Christmas time, want to greet our friends and be with our family in those settings. But just to be able to keep people safe and be as cautious as we can, that's going to be our continued request for you. If you are, of course, feeling sick or if you've been in contact with people who have had COVID, the recommendation, obviously, is to please stay home. For those who just aren't feeling comfortable coming out into a public setting yet for worship, we understand that too, totally understand that. And we would just, again, encourage you to worship, but using the broadcast radio or the online versions that we're offering with Facebook and YouTube. And in regards to that, thank you for the comments that we've been receiving. It's been kind of encouraging for us, people not just here in our town, but people who maybe moved away from St. James and Shawano to different parts of the country have been reaching out and contacting us and sharing how they've been engaged with our worship here at St. James and connected. Finally, in regards to Christmas Eve, again, that 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock have traditionally been the larger services. So if you feel you might be more comfortable in a smaller setting, why not explore a different time? The 1 o'clock service in the gym with the celebration, or 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Those typically have been smaller. We anticipate that'll still hold true. But whatever the case, what we are going to for sure is still live by faith and not be driven by fear, for that's at the heart of the Christmas message. Fear not, for I bring you good news of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. So again, on behalf of Pastor Steve and myself and all of St. James, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.